China is a real tough market for auto manufacturers of all kinds. Companies have been coming here for decades with varied success, and no success has been more noticeable than when Tesla built their factory in Shanghai beginning in 2019. Well, some years have passed and maybe the bloom is off the rose, or maybe not because the sales figures keep going well. I'm joined by my good buddy Herbert from Brighter. We're going to break down just how terrible or wonderful these sales actually are. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So Herbert, I've got this great
data. Let's take a look
great
at your
data.
report. Yeah.
I know some people get very upset because I don't say the things they want me to say, and I say I'm reading data. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Tesla registered 5,300 vehicles in China for the week of April 7th to 13th. Figures jumped 50% from the first week of the month, as the company always prioritizes exports over local deliveries in the beginning of the quarter. You remember those stories we used to see all the time? Oh no, sales in Norway have collapsed in the first week of the quarter. You're like, well, don't they not get deliveries until like the second month of the quarter? And every quarter it was the same. Well, yes, but Elon said they're unwinding the delivery wave. Yes, but that doesn't mean it doesn't still exist. That just means that instead of it being a series of tsunamis, it's actually more like little waves. Mm-hmm. You're still going to try and optimize. If you're only sending 2 boats a quarter, send them when they'll actually get there during the quarter. Otherwise, the quarterly numbers start looking weird. Of the 5,300 last week, 3,900 were Model Y, 1,400 were Model 3. I don't know why Model 3s aren't selling better, but I will tell you from my days here in China so far, there are a lot of minivans, like a lot of electric and hybrid minivans. More hybrids than electric because it takes a lot of battery to get you that far in something that size and shape. But I think sedans might just be something that are dying off.
It's so sad because I have a Model 3 and I love this car. It is
wonderful,
perfect and best out there, and I enjoy driving it, and it's got everything I need. I'm also shocked because it's a smaller car. That's what I need. But
deliveries of the refreshed SUV in China began in late February and steadily increased through the end of the first quarter. In the first week of the second quarter, Model 3 registrations in China dropped sharply to 1,000 due to reasons above mentioned, increasing last week by nearly 35% to 1,400. So we're exporting a lot of 3s, is what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Model 3 is rivaled by Xiaomi's SU7, which launched a year ago in China, surpassed Tesla's sedan in weekly sales in December for the first time. If you don't know the SU7, it is a wonderful car, gets fantastic reviews. Have not seen it yet myself. Will be doing that this week, but they're losing a ton of money. Mm-hmm. Even in the Chinese market, they are selling the car for slightly less than a Model 3, even though it costs almost twice as much to build. I can see why. I mean, if you could get a brand new Mercedes for less than a Corolla, you'd sell a lot. But I think there's a limit to how much of that you can do. So here are some charts. Model 3 versus Model Y. You can see that they follow patterns. And as we go down to the next chart, you'll see it follows a more specific pattern. You can see the delivery waves. When they're exporting every unit, the only sales you're going to get are the ones that were in transit. And that 400 you see under week 8 there, that's probably people who were supposed to take delivery the week before, but for whatever reason couldn't. It's like in Korea, the first quarter of every month, you'll see Tesla sells something like 2 cars, 1 car. They were supposed to take delivery last month. It got held up. Yeah, and here we go. Weekly registrations. The SU7, very strong. Model 3 down. Well, yes, because they're exporting them. So I know you're not here. Do you think the Tesla story is over in China?
Oh, it's the opposite. Everything I've been reading and all the reports I've been watching, the data, but also the kind of context. What we're seeing now is the love. So first of all, got to keep in mind that Model 3, Model Ys are still the dollar value wise, they're at the high end. right? 50,000, 60,000 US dollars.
So no, they're not
like
actually in the US or in China. The Model Y is like 42,000 and the Model 3 is like 35. I mean, they're very cheap here. They're cheaper than in the US.
But I guess what I meant to say was that they are still at the high end relative to the market of what the, like BYD selling it at 5,000, 15,000, 20,000. And yet they are selling, that's still the number one vehicles, top always out there. What I've been hearing is that with FSD rolled out there, the videos have gone viral. And remember how a year ago, remember that there was this big thing that happened where there's this, was it a woman who claimed that her Tesla's brakes did not work? Yes. And then that went viral. Well, of course, that was false. She came out and apologized. And then that went viral. And then now the opposite is happening, where people are now seeing Teslas as high build, high quality. And with the FSD videos, they're now realizing this is a better car. And they had all assumed, just like, many people here in the US thought that, oh, have you not seen the Chinese, their version of ADAS, their version of autopilot is so much better than for Teslas. But now that they can do head-to-head comparisons, it's pretty clear now, across the board, clear that Tesla is way ahead in terms of their full self-driving. So what I've been hearing is that, in fact, Tesla's brand has improved in China and strengthened at this point. And as FSD gets better and better, like with the next release and so forth, at that point, it becomes a no-brainer, And you could tell me, because you're in China right now, you're going to look at all these cars and you're going to say, this car is amazing, right? Like, didn't you tell me that one car actually has like a movie theater thing where the screen goes all the way down? I mean, they'll have refrigerators back there. But what happens when, my Tesla can actually drive itself better than anyone else? That is probably the tech that's going to surpass everyone else's, my refrigerator versus that. At the end of the day, I think that's what will happen.
I would agree with that. I think that autonomy is a bigger struggle for the imports here, your Kias, your Hyundais, your Toyotas, because they do not have any kind of meaningful autonomy programs, where Huawei does, Avatar does, BYD does, all of the domestic players here. Every car I've seen with the exception of the taxis here are made by a brand called Rowe, and it's like ROEWE, which is made by, I think, SAIC. It is an economy car. It's just an EV. It gets about 200 miles of range. It's fine, but it's like $14,000. That is the car that a lot of these imports are trying to compete against, and you can't compete against it. You'd have to build the factory here, and they're not. The Row will never drive itself, which is good because it's a taxi. The taxi drivers might not appreciate being put out of work like that, but all the other cars are working toward autonomy. It is up for debate who's in the lead. I do not have an opinion formed yet. Of course,
please try them out, right? You're there.
Oh, I will. Yeah. I've been on the ground 48 hours. I need a little more time. But yes, I will be checking them out, as many as I can. But they are working toward it. If you're hoping to sell, so let's look at this chart real quick. You can see Tesla had fantastic sales. New quarter begins, exports begin again. It falls back down to that flat level. And you see all the other guys kind of hold steady, because all the other guys mostly just sell in China. Yeah. You can make a very successful company only selling in China. But once these guys start exporting in serious numbers, it's going to be a problem for everyone else. If Tesla had to compete with all these brands in, say, Australia, which they do, where all of these companies get more or less even footing in the import market in terms of tariffs and whatnot, I've heard anecdotally that BYDs are the new hotness in Australia because they are slightly cheaper than a Tesla and have a lot of the features that they already want. Some kind of autonomy, just lane keep and whatnot. A lot of people don't buy FSD, don't use FSD, don't understand how much better it is than driving yourself everywhere. So I think a lot of these are, people who are sleeping on China are going to be very disappointed when they look at their own sales. And again,
Did you hear what happened to Polestar? Yeah. So last week, Polestar pulled out and they sold quite a number of their dealerships there. They've got out of a joint venture with a Chinese partner. They're owned by Geely and they are a Chinese company, but they basically said, look, the competition in China is too fierce. We only sold 3,000 cars in a quarter. And so they need to pull out and focus their attention in Europe.
That is a low market share, I will just tell you. For those scoring along at home who didn't know, 3,000 cars is inadequate.
Yeah.
That's not going to, in your domestic market where the car is built. So I don't see how any import company is going to survive. Now, Tesla's not an imported car, although the S and X have been discontinued for importation due to tariffs. Unfortunate. I don't know how many were sold. I have really only seen Model Ys here and maybe a couple of Model 3s. It's mostly Model Ys. No, I guess a handful of Model 3s too. But there are, and you'll see the $12,000 taxi. Then behind that, you'll see a Bentley. Then behind that, you'll see, it's, Aeon is another brand that I've been seeing around town a lot, and Maxus. So there are endless brands. Some of them you actually see on the road. If you're not building your cars in China, your cars will not sell for much longer. Mm-hmm. They have good manufacturing now. They have with that has come some brand affinity, some brand loyalty. Why would I pay extra to get a Toyota when it's barely a good car by 10 years ago standards compared to what's available in China? So I wouldn't say that Tesla is the benchmark for all things futuristic here. There are a lot of cars that are really, really rich with features, just things you didn't even think of that they've put into the car. The Huawei has a solution to your phone toaster. Mm-hmm. There's little vents that cool your phone. Mm-hmm. So simple. Give me that.
This is the battle right now, right? It's a bloodbath in China, and they're trying to outdo each other. There's way too many vehicle models being all propped up by the Chinese government, so that's gonna, a lot of them will die.
Yes,
fighting against themselves. But this is great. This is all meant to be part of the program. But at some point, autonomy comes in and self-driving comes in, and it gets to the point where it's not just ADAS anymore. It's not just this thing is really, really like we're there. Like you and I are driving our FSD 13s and we know it's unbelievable, right? I've not had an intervention for 3 months, 2.5 months now. So it's but once they see it and once we get to even the next release, I think maybe they'll start realizing that, yes, mine has a toaster. Mine doesn't have a toaster, which is more.
Well, but yes. And I don't buy a car over whether or not your phone might overheat on the charger. That's not, I hope, what I was getting at. But it's just everything. And there's a video I have coming out about it. It should be out Friday morning. I don't know when this video will run, maybe before that. But there are serious companies here building serious cars that people seriously want. And if your concern is quality, well, a lot of new car buyers only keep a car while it's under warranty. It ain't your problem. And if your real concern is charging it to 100%, definitely lease the car, because then, hey, it's not my battery. but don't abuse your batteries, folks. And all the cars here are LFP anyway, so doesn't matter as much. The lesson I guess we're getting at today is don't listen to the hype. Zoom out, look at the longer trends, and you'll see that sales are not collapsing in China. If you believe that the cars are a bit dated compared to the competition, maybe they are. Maybe people prefer that. Maybe there are people who aren't ready for constant change. And don't freak out is, I guess, my lesson. Guys, head over to Herbert's channel. Find out what he's up to. What did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters, my ex-subscribers, my YouTube channel members for making this trip possible. Could not have done it without you. It is a hassle and expensive, but I'm getting through it. Everybody else, like, subscribe, stay tuned and juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots in the next exciting installment.